There's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP Morning Show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP. Hey, Gumpers.
Well, bon dia, alegria, Munson here. Yes, you are on the morning show with GMP. How you liking the new titles? Thank you so much to Warren Sharm for producing our very own theme tune there. You may, the keen-eared among you will recognize that, of course, as our Christmas tune. But I did a little edit on it, and we've just got a jazzy intro to the show. Don't worry if you are missing the bells. The bells are in there somewhere, so there's not a complete bell end, as it were. And there's also the whistling at the end of the show. I have a beautiful sunset. I must write this down because things get forgotten here, don't they? In the hurly-burly of rapid communication, in the white heat of community interaction. So writing down beautiful sunsets that Victoria sent in, and do prompt me if I've forgotten anything that you've sent in. You're very welcome to prompt me, and the number to send things to, the WhatsApp number is 913-590-303. Where is it for me to put on the screen? So many things now lying around in the back office of. I'm just popping into my back end. I actually heard somebody say that the other day. Bear with me. I just need to go into my back end. Ooh. God, call me back. 913-590-303. That's the number. If you want to send anything to my back end, I can pick it up from there. 913-590-303. Of course, Wednesday. Ask anything about Portugal. And we've got the Heronius Maximus. Michael Heron from Avonlight will be joining us. I've tweaked my mic a little bit, and I think we're trying to get Rafael Di Foria on the show. He can't do tomorrow, but we'll get him on, and we'll have the fruitiest of microphone clashes going on. But I've tweaked mine, prompted a little bit by him. I feel a little bit inadequate. I'm running a PC here, which is being held hostage to some sort of virus security software selling scam. And I thought it was sounding a little bit tinny when I was watching something back. So more back-end tweaking going on, everybody, rest assured. Even though the swan seems to be sitting serenely on the surface of the water, the legs are paddling away furiously underneath. Trouserless again, got completely soaked again, out with the dogs this morning, Jimmy Chew and Peggy Poo. I'm not sure. Jimmy Chew's struggling a little bit with the rain now. I don't think he liked it. He's so keen to go out, but he didn't sniff every single calzada this morning, which was a real blessing, but I still got soaked. So feeling a bit moist here this morning. Are you feeling moist this morning? Answers in the comments, please. Further contributions, of course, to the co-written, collaborated erotic novel that we're putting together, The Gumpers, Things That Go Gump in the Night. Rebel Mamas here. Hola, mios, amigo, amigas. Very good. Not covering all the bases there, but a good number of them, Rebel, this morning. Thank you very much for your correspondence. Thanks to everybody who reaches out between the shows as well. It's always great to hear from you. And we'll come back to the yesterday's shenanigans. I think I'm going to make a little. It's not a jingle because it's not only audio. It's going to be visual. Where it's going to be we had the old ivermectin trigger. Yes, I shouldn't keep saying it. We had the old trigger point yesterday, didn't we? And there were a few discussions after the show yesterday about whether or not we should go there. And I don't think we should have things that are off limits. I think the idea probably here is to be open, as long as it's legal and respectfully expressed, that we remain open to points of views and opinions. And we can use it as therapy. I think there's a real silver lining to this. I'll say more about that in a little while because I've got to say good morning to everybody. Not got to, want to. You see, there's it's all about the distinctions, isn't it? I haven't got to say hello. I absolutely want to, and I'm so glad to see back in the room. Feliz Ano Novo para todos from Midlife Crisis World Tour, better known to us as the Prof Eusebio, who's back with some This Day in Portuguese History, catching up to do this morning. So great to hear from you and great to see you back. I was worried about you. And I know you're keeping a keen eye, are you not, Eusebio, on the upcoming Portuguese election? And don't worry, we'll cover that. Anybody who would like to know what's going on, I'll do my best to offer my insight. But I invite you to do the same. If you feel like you have a better understanding of Portuguese politics, and it wouldn't take much, believe me, to have a better understanding of Portuguese politics than I, feel free to get in touch or keep us abreast of what's going on in the comments, if you will. Thunder's here, everybody. Bom dia, alegria, gumpers, and Famash Brandão. Stop it. Midlife Crisis World Tour. Yes, with a few today in Portuguese histories to catch up on since the 1st of January. Don't feel obliged. We can jump in exactly where we are this morning. But then there may have been notable things like your christening or something like that that we might have missed, Eusebio. And the first catch up, 1st of January, 1986, Portugal joins the EU. Now, it would have been a mixture, wouldn't it, of muted post-Christmas revelry and hangovers and stuff, and moving into the bright new era that membership of the EU brings to a country. And and it'd be interesting to hear from Portuguese people what they have made and are making of that poster boy of the EU, as it occurs to me, Portugal are. So 1986 was when Portugal joined the EU. It'd be very interesting to speak to somebody who had life experience before and after that point. But it's a very brutal tool, isn't it? In or out, yes or no. These are the markers of life at the moment, aren't they? No wonder we have this. What was the phrase that Lonnie came up with yesterday? The virulent positionalism. It can so easily happen. I want to talk about that, as you can hear, but I'll come back to that. Bon dia, Carl. First bite of winter in Belfast. Snow, ice temperatures in the minus. We've got some snow pictures to bring you. Certainly some iciness on the car from Deagle. Thank you for that. Makes us feel a lot warmer here, Deagle. Minus next 3 or 4 days. Going to be cold, heavy snow expected Friday. And he's not happy about it. He wanted the snow at Christmas, and it's late. Portuguese, but good morning to you, Deagle. Catch up in Portuguese history, 1st of January 2002. Portugal adopts euro as currency following a period of 3 years of dual circulation. Wow, that's a long time, isn't it, to have both kinds of change jangling around in your pocket? But two lots of coins to burn a hole in your pocket and to get rid of. Wow, so the escudo gave way to the euro on the 1st of January 2002, 20 years ago. How's that been, Portuguese people? There's always a devaluation for the common person, isn't there, when that happens? When you change currency or you decimalize or something like that, everything seems to be a little bit more expensive. It never seems to go the other way. Or has it, in your experience? Is that my jaded and cynical view? Bon dia, alegria from Owen Ella, mate. I'm enjoying our correspondence. And Pete's here as well, talking to Deagle and Thunderduck and Eusebio. Although I have to say that Superboc and Sagres are pretty awful, 50 cents a beer at paintballing justifies even Sagres. So enjoying the bargain aspect of the Portuguese primary beers. Let's call them the primary beers, the mainstays of Portuguese beer drinking, Sagres and Superboc. And whilst I was doing my research for this morning, Michael will be here at 9, and we'll talk about beer in earnest then. I hope that idiom makes sense. Beer in earnest. That sounds like a contribution, a sort of tangential contribution to the co-written erotic novel, doesn't it? But we will talk about beer in earnest from 9 o'clock. But yeah, it's true. The Superboc and Sagres dominate, but there is a burgeoning craft beer market, and Heronius Maximus is something of an expert in this department. Beer survey there, if you want to click through to that on Facebook. That was inside the Good Morning Portugal Wine Club that we ran a little beer survey, and I'll go into that after 9 as well. Catching up, did great work, Eusebio. Thank you for this. Catching up in Portuguese history, the 4th of January 1960, Portugal signs the Stockholm Convention. What is this? Is this permanent adherence and subscription to Stockholm Syndrome, maybe? Let's have a look. So Portugal signed Stockholm Convention. No, it's not. To become a founding member of the EFTA, European Free Trade Association. And what is the assessment of that, folks? I have no idea myself, but I'm keen to know. from the Portuguese correspondent here with us. And if you're hearing this in the future, as many people do, I mean, let's face it, most people are watching this show after the event, not during. It's a privileged, and I don't mean that in an egotistical way, but it's certainly a privilege for me to be doing this show live with the Gumpers here every weekday morning. But I know most people are going to hear this sometime later, as it lives on forever, as though it were something in Gladiator. What we do today lives on in history, something like that, that Russell said, wasn't it, at the end of the movie? But these do live on in eternity, and people comment. So do let me know what you Portuguese folks think of joining the EU, of switching to the euro, and joining the European Free Trade Association. It's all very helpful. Kate's here. Sorry for you, Deagle. It only reached 23 degrees here on Sunday. Now down to 16. Cruel, isn't it? Listen to her. Honestly, Kate. Bon dia, Lloyd. Mate, hope you had a wonderful weekend. I think that might be for Owen, mightn't it? I'm not sure. Although, mate, new friend Lloyd, also in the Bay here. Good morning to you, Lloyd Senior and Lloyd Junior. And your partner as well there, Lloyd, whose name escapes me, forgive me. Should be a good crew in for the show today. Happy hour, early doors for the beer. You got this. Terence, are you sipping a sherry there with your smoking jacket on and cravat and maybe a cigarette and a cigarette holder, drinking sherry and thinking how awfully common beer is? Terence, do we need wristbands? I think he might have a charm bracelet on. That will be the wristband of choice, possibly, for dear Terence. Dear boy. Finally, today in Portuguese history, loving these. 1943, Eusebio da Silva Ferreira dies. During his professional career, he scored. Were you named after him? Is your name inspired by the great footballing legend of 733 goals in 745 games? That's a hit rate. After his death, 3 days of national mourning are declared. That's how much the Portuguese love their football, right? That's incredible. So the great Eusebio there. Thank you so much, Prof. And great to have you back. Hola, bon dia, all. Wishing you a great day from Chris, the Capricorn 12. I suspect a jazz funk soul track to follow this morning. Not 1943. Surely I remember Eusebio. Okay. So yes. Yeah. Well said, Ian. You can't get that past Ian. He's like the best keeper, metaphorically here. He died in 2014. He was born in 1943. Just checking that everyone's awake. Ian was, Coach Turner was, Eusebio was the first footballer to be buried at the National Pantheon. Who else is in the National Pantheon? Who does he lay beside for eternity there to be remembered? Eusebio, more homework for you. Paul Williams, hola, bon dia, from a foggy and cool Peña Escorzo this morning. Good morning to you, Paul and Lita. Lovely to have you here. Bon dia. Love that theme song called. Me too. On the morning show with GMP. I think it's fantastic. I'm so honored that somebody would have gone to the trouble, dear Warren Sharm, to craft that for us. One of 4 songs that he's written for us, inspired by the events here. And of course, he must do when the erotic novel gets made into a movie, 50 Shades of Gump, as working title, of course, we'll never get away with that. Then Warren needs to do the sexy music in the background, doesn't he? With a little bit of that sort of 60s xylophone vibe going on, as befitting the erotic novel that us Gumpers are putting together. No lines yet, though, this morning. James, where are you? Hola, bon dia, kids. So happy to see you this morning. So happy to see you too, Victoria. And that fabulous sunset. We'll go out with that. And I must not talk too much this morning because I forgot to play Sarah Cruz, and her wonderful guide to her Go Walks, well, tours and videos. She had to change her business plan when COVID struck. More about that in just a moment, because I'm definitely going to play that for you this morning. I'm not going to forget. So much to squeeze in. There's a line for you, James. Bon dia, Gumpers. Here he is. Feliz carta y alegria todos, from James. Hope you're well this morning, James. Bon dia, y'all. The sun's found its face here, but it's cold today. Talking of beer, my guts don't deal with it very well these days, and nor does anyone else in the room, I suspect. But there's just something about beer. What is it? Can we talk about the psycho-spiritual aspect of beer? What is it that draws us towards it, that it rearranges our brain cells and takes the edge off things? I mean, let's face it, that's one of the things. It quenches thirst. And I must have a bit more Mimon Chic water in just a moment. Do you know, the box I was talking about yesterday, 10-litre cardboard box of water. At Mon Chic, our priority is to find more ecological and sustainable solutions for our packaging. This pack, the 10-litre cardboard pack, is 100% recyclable, and its production contains 63% less plastic when compared to 5-litre plastic bottles. So I'm feeling very good. Greta would be proud of me this morning. Who or what website can I go to learn more about Portuguese law and politics? Thank you. There you go. Ask anything about Portugal question this morning. I have no idea. You'd think I would know that, wouldn't you? Let's check in with, let's put that to Heronius Maximus when he joins us at 9, okay? And from Stockholm this morning, bon dia from Stockholm, soon back in Portugal again. Missing it, Anna. I wonder, but I know you're having a lovely time over there in Stockholm as well, in Sweden, where the EFTA agreement was signed, of course. Antonio F is here. Antonio, bon dia todos. Have a great 2022. Great to have you here, Antonio. Take my advice, Carl. Don't go into a voice. Yeah, I've lost that already, haven't I? He is in the Barry White category. I know. But can I do a little bit of I wonder if I can tweak myself up a little bit here. Does that work any better if I put that?
And what about that? You're listening to the Good Morning Portugal show with me, Carl Munson.
A little too deep, perhaps. Deagle. I'm not a beer person, even in Portugal. I love a red wine or port. Love the strong berry flavor. Never drank alcohol till I was 28. Take it or leave it. Big coffee drinker. That's interesting. And people of a certain disposition are absolutely like that, aren't they? And I know you have a national stereotype as well to live up to. Do you not, Deagle? There, which might add to the explanation. This is the funny thing with beer. We do find ourselves having to explain ourselves to other people. I mean, this whole year of being alcohol free for me is like, why? Remember that look on Gilda's face? Why would you do that? It's not good for you. Sunny here at the beach this morning. So weather report from Praia de Rocha this morning. It is sunny. And tolerance and respect for others' views, not denigrating and name calling. We're pretty good on that, aren't we? And I've got a good theory as to why that happens, Thunder, and what we could do about it. But I have a video to play, and before I go, espouse that theory with you. Boa quarta-feira from Marcos Cunha this morning. Morning to you, Marcos. Bon dia. Feeling a bit fatigued and slow this morning with a slightly raised temperature. He was slightly fatigued that morning with a slightly raised temperature. No, probably symptoms of COVID, not symptoms of passion there, because I got my booster jab yesterday. Well, quite possibly, James. Well, get well soon, mate. Which booster is that? Is that number 1, 2, 3, or 27 or 62? That's not helping, is it? It's so good to catch you live. It's been so long. Yes, Louise, thank you for your message over your off-grid Christmas festive period. Looking forward to seeing you soon. It has been too long. And I don't think you're here for the beer this morning, are you? Got a Facebook warning for using the forbidden term. They're obviously still keeping tabs on sex offenders. So, no, whoops. Sorry, they are obviously still keeping tabs on ex-offenders. Let that be known in the record there. My little slip up. So, yes, I should stop saying it. Was it the I word? Unbelievable. And I posted a video on my own Facebook timeline yesterday of, get this, a Sky, and I think he's an ITV guy, ITV/ITN, Independent Television News. And he's had enough. He's had enough of how one-dimensional and unchallenging journalism has become. And there's another aspect of it, isn't it? You can't even say a word. Get out of here. Unbelievable. I was so intrigued with Gilda's insight on no corporate intervention with the politicians. Yeah, I can understand why Gilda sees that as a bit of a barge pole issue, OLP. That's not to say it doesn't go on, right? I mean, come on, as long as there's human beings, there's going to be a little bit of a crossover on that Venn diagram, let's face it. It's how it's done, isn't it? And I'm all for an expats. So who wants to be chair of the Portugal Expats Association, not the Portuguese expats, because you're not actually Portuguese expats, are you? You're expats in Portugal. So who wants to chair that? Should we put together what would we call it? Prototype or first draft of the Portugal Expats Association who can lobby government, because there's going to be more and more. There are. I mean, what is it? Can someone give me the percentage of expats in the population? Isn't it 1 in 50 people? I think, I'm not sure. Well, somebody better at maths than me will do that. And that's just the official figures. And you know, there's loads more people than are actually recorded officially. Although having said that, it's unlikely that those living here illegally or under the radar would come forward as part of the Portugal Expats Association. But I think it'd be a very good thing to start forming now, everybody. But clearly, you know, we're a company, Expats Portugal, so it wouldn't be a good look, as Gilda said, to be lobbying as a corporation. But that's not to say we can't be clear about the boundaries on that. And you know, we wear various hats. I am an expat as well as a business owner that works in the expat area. I agree, Thunder. So we probably need to print and frame that, don't we? Tolerance and respect for others' views, not denigrating and name calling, which is very difficult for anyone having a minority view at the moment. It's becoming more difficult. Okay, so I'm absolutely right, Thunder. Thank you for that. And Mark's here as well, everybody. This morning. Good morning to you, Mark. Let's just have a chat with people who haven't spoken yet. Abu Muhammad is here. Bon dia, todos. Going to see my orthopedic and can't watch the show now. We'll watch the recorded one later. Make sure you do. You're an ex-offender, but are you reformed? I think not in that department there. And after Michael's interview yesterday, I checked the Serenity website, and they seem to have the service I'm looking for. I forgot to ring them myself for in order to make my move to Portugal anxiety-free. Well, that's good. And what a bargain it is as well, right? I have an Ask Anything. Can you ask for... Can you ask for bottles of beer to go at bars? Whenever we find beer we like, we can't find it to purchase at stores only bars. In my experience, you can. And that's I think that's a little bit of the conditioning we have, right, coming from our respective home countries. You can't always... It depends on the license, doesn't it? Certainly in the UK, and probably the same in the US on... because I think licensing is quite strict, isn't it, in the US in many states. And what I find here is if you want the rest of the bottle of wine or you want to take some with you, restaurants are fine with that. In my experience, that's not to say it's an official and legal thing, but certainly in my anecdotal experience, you can ask for beer to go at bars and take it with you. Jeff's here as well this morning. Bon dia, alegria, todos. And I would describe Raf's voice like eating warm buttered toast dripping with honey, eaten in front of an open fire with a high-quality single malt at your side, before the naked wrestling begins on the sheepskin rugs, I suspect, over there in Alviagra. I highly recommend visiting the National Pantheon. Who else is in there? Thunder and 50 Shades of Grump over there. Oh dear. Driving licenses, eh? Hi, everybody. Not an easy time for me. During Christmas, my daughter in USA got COVID, and yesterday my close friend got a heart stroke. Oh, no. I hope to be here sooner with a better mood. Well, Laura P., we're here for you. With whatever's going on in your life, hope that everyone gets well soon in that department. But we're here for you with warm words and atmosphere. I hear the words in my head, but can't seem to muster the strength to strike the keys. That in itself is write that down or screenshot that, James, if you can manage it. He could hear the words in his head, but he couldn't muster the strength. He is the voice of the bloke in our erotic novel. Okay, I think the ladies will back me up when you get him on the show. And I think some of the fellas too, I suspect, as well. Okay, so who else is here that we haven't spoken to this morning? Where can my son apply for a teaching position? So I'm not going to make a silly joke about teaching positions. Actually, yes, I am. Like this. You at the back, Munson and Austin, stop chatting. Not that sort of teaching position at the front of the class, a teaching position in an institution. Vera, sorry about that. He has a master's degree teaching design and technology. Thank you. Recruitment companies, presumably. Who else knows about that? I think if Andy's here, Andy will know about that. Bon dia Gumper's up late this morning. Quite right too, Cindy. Our permaculture teacher there, and Chris Rattenbury, coach. I've got two coaches in this morning. Ian, Coach Turner, who's helping me with man boobs and gluteals, and Chris, who did the same. He was not averse to give me a punch in the moobs. All in a good cause. Happy New Year, Cobra. Wishing you and your family good health from the King's Boxing Academy. Chris, so good to hear from you. Lovely to have you here this morning. Hope you're well. Midlife crisis. Eusebio. Personalities entombed at the Pantheon. The presidents of the Republic, Manuel Darriaga, Teofilo Braga, Sidonio Paix, and Oscar Carmona. Humberto Delgado. Humberto Delgado's life is a scene straight out of Gloria, isn't it? As I found out last week. And Fado singer Amalia Rodriguez as well. Okay, that's fantastic. Thank you very much for that. More like the voice of the Misterons. Yeah, that took you down memory lane, didn't it? And good morning, beer appreciating Gumpers, on my way to rob the bank to pay for the van repair. Well, good luck. Kidding, not a bank. Just said that please know that was only a joke. The train, going to rob the train instead. No, not kidding again. Haven't robbed a train in ages. Still kidding. Oh, Suze, we need you doing a bit of stand-up here, don't we? And who doesn't like a stand-up in the morning? There are also cenotaphs to Luis de Camões, Pedro Alvares Cabral, Afonso de Albuquerque, Nuno Alvares Pereira, Vasco da Gama, and Henry the Navigator, and Aristides de Sousa Mendes in there as well. Thank you very much, Eusebio. I said symptoms, not infection. All right. It makes you grumpy as well. Sure, it's just my reaction to the jab. 3 in total. First 2, then the first. Then, spirit willing, the last with the first booster. I think, yes, I can see you're not your best this morning, James. Well, wrap up warm, mate. Lots of love to you from all of us here. Jazz Funk Track of the Day quiz. What is the track lyrics? Midnight creeps so slowly into hearts of men who need more than they get. Daylight deals a bad hand to a woman who has laid too many bets. That sounds profound. I've never heard of that from quiz. And some lyrical power there. It's 1.5%, I think. I just read that and forgot. Okay, so one, just over 1 in 100 is an expat here in Portugal. I thought it was more than that, but thank you for that, Rebel Mama. And they were watching It's a Wonderful Life. They were watching It's a Wonderful Life, eating warm buttered popcorn when he teasily poured cold beer down her long, sinewy. No, it's a cliffhanger, everybody. Corporate intervention with politicians, CIP, brought to you by Pfizer. That's a point, isn't it? Yes, Thunder. Carl, it's just an opinion, everybody. Carl, the official, well, it is an opinion, and it might be something else, but it is an opinion. Carl, the official figures, 2021 on immigrants in Portugal, is that they represent some 7% of the total population. So we've risen from 1 point. Statistics, depends on what case I want to make. We're not making much of an impact. It's only 1.5%, according to some figures. But we're making a great impact on other figures. 7%, 7 out of every 100 people. See what I did there? And Jeff, James, hope you feel better soon. The booster can have quite a kick, speaking from personal experience, but certainly beats the alternative. So he poured beer on her sinewy body into her navel. Now, depending on the capacity of the navel, and have you heard about Mrs. M's belly button poking stick? Oh, yes. Kate can tell you more about that. She's in the comments right this morning. But depending on the capacity of one's navel belly button, I don't think that's not going to be exactly a tankard, is it? The right amount of beer. I wouldn't mind licking a shot out of the right belly button, but it's not a place for beer, really. Your comments, please. My experience, maybe I shouldn't have said that. My experience is that deciding never to drink alone, only in company, dogs and kids don't count. This principle has been hugely successful to me for the first 8 years, and my liver thanks me. Well done, Maxine. Great advice there. I'm going to play you a video now, and I suspect Heronius Maximus will join us on the other side. This is really good This is from Sara Cruz from Go Walks, who's amazing. She's truly amazing. I don't know why we don't see more of her on this show. That'll be down to me. My bad. But you'll see why in just a moment. And listen up for the bloopers at the end. There's a cat doing what cats do, everybody, at the end of this video.
Hello. This is Sara Cruz of Go Walks Portugal. So I started Go Walks Portugal in 2012, and at the time I just wanted to share my city with people. I just wanted to let them know about Portuguese culture and heritage as well. So I started these guided tours within the city center of Coimbra, which is a city in central Portugal. And at the time I was doing 2 guided tours. A riverside tour and an historical center tour. 1 year after, in 2013, in June, Coimbra was classified as World Heritage by UNESCO, so my historical tour of the city center started being called UNESCO World Heritage and University Tour of Coimbra. I've noticed a growth of interest in Coimbra from people from all around the world, and I was guiding tours mostly to Americans, but I also speak Spanish, so to Spanish people as well, to Brazilians obviously, because I'm Portuguese and we all speak Portuguese. Duh. And so at the time I was doing all these tours and I wanted to do more. People were also asking me to do more, so I decided to start doing themed tours within the city center. So I did a Jewish Coimbra tour, a gastronomic tour, a fado tour, and so on and so on, until 2015, when I started working on tours outside Coimbra. Not only I wanted to take people to places that were historically important, but also I wanted them to get to know a little bit about Portuguese countryside, about other World Heritage sites, and also places that are very tranquil, secluded, and in some matter very attached to my personal history as well. So I'm not only taking people to places that are culturally interesting, I'm also taking people to these places that mean a lot to me and to my life. So in 2015 I started doing this, and in between 2017 and 2020 I did mostly tours outside Coimbra with people, half day, full day, and even multi-day tours. So much that people also started asking me to do these routes throughout Portugal, so multi-day tours all around the country, based in different themes of interest, such as Roman heritage, for instance. And I traveled all around the country. I was having so much fun, so I traveled all around, basically in between Évora in the south and Douro Valley in the north. And I was really having a blast until 2020 came, and I was actually doing tours quite often in January, February, and the beginning of March. And then from the 12th of March, obviously, we all started being locked down. So for Portugal, it was basically a complete lockdown from that point on, and I stopped guiding tours. I was locked at home without doing what I loved the most, and obviously I started feeling a little frustrated with that. And I always wanted somehow to do videos for YouTube about the tours I implemented at Go Walks Portugal. So I thought, well, why not taking advantage of all this time I have right now and start writing content in order to work on this YouTube channel. And so I did.
Pronto, tenho uma gata no colo, quer filmar e não consigo. Está muito frio, não é, Fatolas? Isto é o que acontece quando eu estou gravando. O gatinho vem para o colo.
Have to come here. Where are the pandas? Panda! Panda! No pandas in Portugal. I'm sorry.
Vais ficar aí?
And that is my cat, Ratolas. Oh, Ratolas! Está a lavar as partes para a câmara. Cat!
Some great music there. Some great incidental music. What a sport. What a star she is. Absolutely encyclopedic knowledge and passion for the country, particularly Coimbra. But as you can see there, she does tours all over Portugal. And that cat, you could tell from the look on that cat's face that it was going to do that and embarrass her at the end of the video there. So thank you so much. Go Walk, Sarah Cruz, Saracruz, or Z for you Americans. and check her out and subscribe. Do please subscribe and book a tour as soon as circumstances allow that to happen. I think she can do tours now again, but there's certainly so much value on YouTube, and she is a great. Jerry speaks very highly of Sarah there. And she happens to be she's almost family to me. 6 degrees of separation. One of our landladies here knew her from being a child as well. So great provenance as well. Fantastic person, absolutely passionate, loves what she does, and deserves to have the opportunity to do so. So do please subscribe and book a tour with Sarah, a great tour guide. We are here on the Good Morning Portugal show with expatsportugal.com. I'm Carl Munson, and it gives me great pleasure now to bring to the screen to talk to you about beer. Not just the normal pleasure of talking to Michael Heron, but talking to him about beer as well. I can't wait till June. Morning, Michael. How are you? Feliz Ano Novo.
Good morning. Happy New Year, everyone. I'm very well. How are you doing?
Pretty good, mate. Did you have a nice Christmas?
I did. Yeah, it was very nice. It was quite quiet, actually, which was quite nice, because of the restrictions. So, yeah, it was good.
All right. Well, it occurred to me that you were the inspiration for me giving up booze for a year. Because we had that quite like somber and
are you still on the wagon?
Exactly. And I remember 2 conversations with you. The first inspiring one, where you said, "Well, I've decided to just give it up," and I was thinking, "Wow, Michael, I know you and I have enjoyed a few beers together in the past, and I'm thinking that must have taken something for Michael to do that. He's really taken his health seriously. This is quite a step, and it's very inspiring to me. So I think I'm going to do the same. I'm going to give up as well." Then in the second conversation I remember with you, it's like, "How's it going, Michael?" "Oh, well, I'm back on it. I had some champagne."
Yeah. Last year it was about 5 months, I think, 6 months.
Well fair play.
And I'm doing dry January, and I might continue it longer. Just like, mate, just the difference is massive. Like already, what are we on the 5th today? Just in 5 days, after all the excess drinking and eating. And I'm sure everyone can relate to that because we all tuck in a bit more than we should over Christmas, don't we? I feel like your body just needs a bit of a cleanse, I mean, maybe you don't need to go to the extreme of complete, dry January or whatever, but I just find you feel so good after a few days just of not drinking. It feels really good.
And you sound like one of those people that can sort of turn it on and off, which is a real blessing as well, isn't it? I mean, some people
I think last year helped me with that. I think last year was a reset. But I am excited to talk about beer when I can go back to drinking.
We must
happy to share my knowledge, which is limited. But you sent a very useful link to me earlier, which maybe it'd be worth sharing to people because that just gives everyone the perfect kind of guide to the whole.
I'm going to pop that up on the forum. Yeah. I'll put that. That's the directory basically of breweries, isn't it? Which is a roadmap. But don't drive and do that. Have a driver. Maybe get Sarah Cruz to take it on that. There's enough. I mean, let's be honest. There is enough drink driving already in Portugal without anyone else adding to it. It feels like the 70s to me in the UK, where I would be staying with relatives, in the countryside. I know, my uncle or whatever would be having 5 pints at the pub, and then we'd all drive home singing, and everyone thought that was fine back in those days, didn't they?
Yeah.
But it's changing.
Yeah. The good thing is the police, the GNR are starting to clamp down on it. So I mean, it's going to be difficult to change that culture here. Just like in the UK, it was. I would imagine. I mean, I wasn't around until the 80s, but even I remember in the 90s. It was still not frowned upon as it would be later. When I passed my driving, I got my driving license in 2001, and it was just a big no-no then. It was just not even thinkable. And then I remember going to Spain, and then now subsequently Portugal, and everyone's at it pretty much. At least 1 or 2. So I think it's going to take time to change that culture. Obviously, it starts with the legal side cracking down, but I think it has to go beyond that. I think. Do you remember those adverts that we used to watch in England on the TV? I think they helped a lot. I think it helped to raise awareness.
Yeah, people flying through windscreens and that sort of thing.
Very graphic ones, right? Yes. I mean, the best one I saw, and it wasn't related to drink driving. It was related to wearing a seatbelt. Was a young family, and the teenage son not wearing the seatbelt in the back. They crash. He smashes into his mum who's driving. He breaks his nose and she dies. And I never, ever, after seeing that advert, forgot to put a seatbelt on the back of a car ever again.
That
Because
worked,
I just
didn't it?
kept on thinking, it's not about me, it's about the person in front of me who I will crush.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I think it does work. Anyway, we're starting on a really somber note. Let's talk about beer. Let's
Thanks for
talk
that,
about
Michael. Hey, let's change the subject. And
Yeah.
but here's the crazy thing. Here are two dry fellas for the time being, anyway, talking about like in the. It couldn't be worse. It's in the
couldn't be
morning.
worse.
It
It
couldn't.
couldn't be worse.
Yeah, it's in the morning, and we're not actually drinking at the moment, but we can whet our appetites as well as everybody else's. So
Well,
let's start with your personal favourite. What's your session or day beer of
Yeah.
choice? Are you a
Well,
Superbock or Sagres man?
Well, before that, maybe what we could just sort of say to people is, even if you're a non-drinker like us at the moment, we will also talk about non-alcoholic beer in Portugal, because that has improved a lot, and I'm a big fan of it. And last year, especially when I went 5 months without drinking, that was a huge education for me. So even if you don't drink alcohol, you should tuck into some non-alcoholic beer as well. But yeah, so basically, I arrived, as a lot of you will now know, I arrived in Portugal in 2014. At the time, there weren't really many options. You basically had Sagres and Superbock, which had a monopoly on the market in terms of beer, what we would call in the UK continental beer, which is like lager, but stronger than we're used to in the UK. In the UK, we would have, back in sort of the 90s, early 2000s, before the craft beer culture really took off, we would have things like Stella Artois, which didn't have a great reputation. People would call it do as you're told, a drop of do as you're told, or wife beater even, because it was so strong. People weren't used to it, and it probably had some chemicals in it that it shouldn't have. In fact, when I lived in Brussels many years ago, the locals did not drink Stella. They drank Jupiler. So that tells you everything. They would export it to the UK and probably not drink it much themselves, much like probably the Australians with Foster's.
Therein lies a whole program of what gets exported to the UK that people don't want in their own countries, including tea. I think what we've grown up with, drinking what we think is quality tea, is just the floor sweepings, isn't it, of tea production facilities all over the world put into tea bags. There's so many things like that. But enough of our woes growing up in the UK. We're glad to be here, and now drinking, as you put it, along with sleeping under continental quilts, we drink continental beer and eat continental cheese and ham.
That's it. But anyway, so to cut a terribly boring and long story short, Sagres and Superbock, and they're still the two mainstays, and they're good beers. I would call them, for me, they're more really like summer beers when it's hot and you just want it really cold. Lager, then they're a good option. But for the more connoisseur type who wants to drink something a bit more sophisticated with a bit more flavor, they're not great. They're not great for that, but they're decent. They're decent beers. And then what I noticed happen, Carl, was around about the time we met, actually, around about 2017, you started to see these breweries start to pop up, especially in Lisbon, in the Beato area, especially. The first three came about, and there's one called Musa, which I mentioned it.
Yeah, I mentioned it already. That I love that place.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
it's really good. It's really good. But what I would say to people now, the great thing now about Portugal is, and they're obviously, and people will be able to read it from the link you'll send around, no doubt, is that there are hundreds now of independent producers. And the great thing about beer is, okay, not taking anything away from the process, but as far as alcohol goes, it's one of the easier things to make, because you just need barley and water, essentially. I mean, there's a whole load of other things that go into it, but it is a relatively easy process. So I think it's inspired a lot of entrepreneurs, especially, to start, manufacturing beer on a larger scale. So now, unlike Michael in 2014, Michael or expat Andrew, expat Carl, or whoever, Louisa, whoever, if they want to have a decent beer, You don't even need to necessarily go and find an artisanal shop or anything. Most of the supermarkets now will stock decent craft beer. Even places like Aldi and Lidl, you will find Musa beer. You will find it out, for example. Yeah. They're a little bit more expensive than the supermarkets, Sagres and Superboc, who also have their own brands now, which I think are very, very good. But there's a lot to choose from now, which is great. I'm still not quite at the level of the UK. I kind of missed that boom in the UK because I left in 2014. I think what happened in the UK with companies like Brewdog, manufacturing buying smaller microbreweries and keeping that whole culture going. I missed that, but now in the UK you can find thousands of different beers. And I was shocked when I went to the US, Carl, in 2017 because I thought the US had this, culture of, Miller Lite and that's it. But no, the amount of beer available in Chicago and Miami, especially, I was astounded by. So I think
this is what's prompted this conversation, Michael. Yeah, there's a chap called Andrew who was in our forum and asking about beer in Portugal. So I thought, it's our duty to cover this. Because I know talking to Eric as well, a good pal Eric, who used to be a regular on the Man Cave. We all used to bring along our specialty beers, and he always had fantastic beers that he'd found in the United States. So there's definitely a little bit of a concern and anxiety that some of the Americans coming over won't be able to get the range or specialism, I suppose, that you find with craft beers. And it's such an exciting thing to do. So, but fear not, we can tell you that, as Michael's just told you there, the scene has got a whole lot better in the last 5 years for sure. And it's getting better and better, I think. And I was greeted by this. Sorry to have put this picture across your face earlier on, but when I lived in Korea in central Portugal, this was the street, and it looked like beer grew on trees there. And this is outside a little kind of deli shop where they took the whole Portuguese food and drink thing very seriously, stocking some fantastic beers and wines in there. Well, everything really to do with craft, artisanal, all that sort of thing that people want. And these lovely beers, Cerveja Artesanal, with the lovely graphics on them, which I later got to. Well, I bought them from that shop. And there's somebody mentioned it yesterday in Korea. There's a fantastic bar called Camelo's Bar. He's a mad keen cyclist, Senor Camelo, who owns a Camelo bar there. And he's got a fridge at the back of the shop. As well as selling the mainstream beers, he has a little homage to craft beers there. So even in the most strangest and most unlikely corners of Portugal, you're going to find this. And I've got a video from the Korea Beer Festival as well. So I think what happens is you've got that Portuguese sense of pride, haven't you, and ingenuity and innovation. It's almost like the perfect storm. Craft beer.
You're right, mate. You're right, and what you can guarantee with a Portuguese anything is the quality and the care that's going to be put in, and the love that's going to be put into it, especially if there's anything to do with gastronomy. So you can't go wrong, really.
All right, so I've got a few. I think I'm trying to find my survey that I did. Actually, I'm going to have to come back to that because I've been messing about behind the scenes and lost contact with it. But we did a survey on the Man Cave of Sagres and Superboc to see which was the winner. We tried to put it to bed once and for all. And I know this is more about craft beer, but I don't think you can have a conversation about beer in Portugal without mentioning the big brands. And the interesting thing that came forward with that, and I'm still not sure, did you say Sagres or Superboc for you?
You know what, mate? It's a difficult one for me. I think that I find it difficult to differentiate the two. I would say probably Superboc just about edges it. And I would imagine if you did a survey with enough people, it'd probably be like 51-49% split to Superboc, but I don't know. Okay.
Well, apparently what we found out was, and that our survey backs that up. We had there weren't a lot of people voting in this, to be fair, but we did have 9 votes for Sagres and 8 for Superboc, and this is what you tend to see. The other things that came up, and I'll put the link in again so we can beef it up with a few more votes here and give you an introduction to some of the other beers that are available. But it was 9 votes on the night for Sagres, 8 for Superboc. Crystal came in, and that we should also say, shouldn't we, that there are some real cheapies as well in the marketplace, aren't there? As you tend to get in every sort of supermarket now, the real bottom end, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it's sort of party beer or something, or kids beer. No, not kids. You know what I mean? The teenager stuff. But you can get some really, really cheap low end value lagers as well. And I think Crystal is in that department. Not not a put down, but I think it's a value beer. Let's call it that. Letra was in there, and I think Letra is the one I showed you earlier on, or certainly one of the breweries up in the north in Aveiro. Argus is another a value beer, isn't it? There was the Musa lager that Frank, our man Frank, liked from the Pausa brewery, a very independent Pausa brewery. And of course, Mark joined us and we drank beer live one breakfast show with Mark, and he showed us around his brewery. That's amazing. Look up Pausa as well over there in Panella. Coral, I think that's the one from Madeira, isn't it? The Coral beer.
Yes.
And
yeah,
then
so, yes. I think that's what I had. I think that's what I had in Madeira. Yes, I had Coral.
Was that
Very
good?
Yeah, I'd
All
say
right.
it's better than Superboc and Sagres, actually.
Okay, and then Coruja is one that seems to be quite popular and gaining ground. And I want to talk to you about that as well, because every brewery in the world since Brewdog or whatever was the sort of turning point has thought to itself, hold on a minute, the punters like the craft beers. Let's make a pseudo craft beer. So there may be others in this conversation who know the difference there. I mean, what technically is a craft beer? Is it about the volume of production? Because you'll see, won't you, that the big brewers have gone into this and they've made something with a quirky looking label, or or a stout with a twist of something in it, and then called it a craft beer. And I just think that's a marketing thing rather than a true craft beer. What's your view on that?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this is where when Sagres and Superboc started to make their own brands of craft beer or artisanal beer, or however you want to call it, some of the more knowledgeable drinkers were a little bit suspicious of that, because you're wondering whether there's actually any difference in the process, because for any beer that's manufactured to the volume of Sagres and Superboc, if you buy, for example, the liter bottles, they're going to be weaker in alcohol than the smaller bottles in the cans. They're going to mix it with water. I mean, that's just a fact. They're going to, because that's how they make their money.
Okay.
And they may not, right? They may not, but that's the rumor. So immediately your credibility is lost. Yes. I think, as a big brand trying to sell alternative types of beer. So I think the more sophisticated beer drinker doesn't mind paying a little bit more if they know they're getting quality and something different, because then it's not about the volume. If you want to get drunk, drink 20 botellines of Sagres for like 10 euros from your supermarket. Happy days.
Yes.
But if you don't want to do that, which most of us don't now, you want to just have a few beers, then it's all about the quality, right? And then you've got lots of different options depending on what you want. But it's fascinating to me, because like when I lived in the UK, the only option you had really was, you'd have Carling, Stella. If you lived in London, Star of Pramen, maybe, and I'm talking about mainstream pubs, not independent pubs. And then you'd have a couple of ales if you were lucky, and a Guinness, and maybe an alternative to Guinness, and that'd be it. That would be it. You wouldn't have any other options.
Packet of crisps with a pickled egg in it, and it always good. But does seem like
now. Take me back now.
And that smell, that takes us back, doesn't it? It does really seem like another age. This was another one that came up in the survey, Linz beers. And this is an interesting resource as well that covers Portuguese beers. Untapped, I don't think, is a Portuguese resource. I think it's a global one for artisanal craft beers. And they have a nice selection there, Linz, American IPA. Somebody was saying that IPA gives you moves, but I think that's all beer. And the coaches who are here.
Yeah, it depends. So you were talking about Coruja earlier. The Coruja Indian Pale Ale and IPA that they sell is quite strong. So, but again, it depends what you like, right? It's so subjective. This is the thing about beer, much like with wine, is that there's so much out there. You just have to try it, and then once you found what you like, then just drink that.
Tough job, but someone's got to do it. So they got, as well as the American IPA, they've got a Belgian Pale Ale, the blonde beer going to Germany there, I guess. Stout, possibly going to is Stout. Does that originate from Ireland? certainly from
Yeah.
colder climates, I would have thought.
Yeah.
And a special Oktoberfest beer there for the Lisbon Beer District, probably a festival. And a smoked porter. I don't know if that's them or somebody else's ad coming in. Look at all these Scotch ale, Deschon
Yeah.
Finard. I don't think Andrew doesn't need to worry, does he? Craft beer,
No.
not a problem. It's
No.
like which one. The argument begins now over what's best rather than whether it's here. So Andrew, rest assured, we've got plenty of
It'll
craft
it'll just be access for him depending on where he's going to live in Portugal. Because if he lives in Lisbon, well, we saw from that map that it's pretty distributed. But as long as he lives close to one or two of the breweries and then close to one or two of the bigger supermarkets, he's going to get a lot of variety. And I would imagine you can buy a lot of it online as well.
Yeah, I think you're going to be fine, Andrew. And look at that. Would you drink that? Who would drink that in listening this morning? A Manjerico, a blonde ale with basil in it. That's going to have quite a distinctive flavour, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's see. Would you drink that?
I'd try it. Why not? I'd try most things.
Why not? And it's 5%. Some of these are big hitters. In the video that I'll play in a moment, I went to the beer festival in Korea. I mean, I'm drinking out of the tankard that I mentioned in the video there. It's nice to keep these things, isn't it? But I started with a 7%. I don't recommend that. And I'm a lightweight anyway when it comes to alcohol. But going to the beer festival and starting with a 7%, probably not the best idea. Folks. Go on, Michael. Sorry.
No. I was just saying I made that mistake in Brussels many years ago. Went to a beer festival and you start drinking the 7, 8, 9% proof early doors. It doesn't end up.
Well, yeah, and you think to yourself, these are only half pints or third pints,
Less than that. Any Australians will relate to this. It's the same as the Imperial, or in Australia they call it a schooner, and it's like 20 centilitres of beer. So it's a fifth of a litre. And you think, oh, it's like, a couple of sips, but that creeps up on you. It's a creeper.
It does, and here's the thing: people complain about how small the beer portions are. I think it was you that explained to me why they are small portions. It's so they can stay cold, isn't it? If you pour yourself, what's the big one called? Caneca, is it? The great big glass.
Yeah. So you've got Caneca, which is like 50 centilitres, and then what I'm now starting to go for, which I think is a good intermediary between an Imperial and a Caneca, is a Tulipa, which I discovered recently, and a Tulipa is 40 centilitres. And then you've got an Imperial, which is 20. So yeah, it's basically because, and also let's remember why in England we drink pints, because the service industry and pubs in the UK are so dreadful. It takes you about an hour to get served. Then you order a pint. Yeah, exactly.
It's the prepper attitude going drinking, and this is a pain Portuguese people will not understand. And probably not Americans either, but pubs used to be shut at 10:30 at night. So what would happen is, because of the phenomenon Michael describes, where you wouldn't get served or you'd be standing at the bar forever, you would buy as much as you possibly could, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And then you would have another surge of buying even more before the pub closed, which is a recipe for social disorder, quite frankly, especially the way the English go at it. But anyway, good morning, Dan. This is not connected with you in any way, Lisa, that behavior.
No, sorry. Good morning, Lisa. Good morning.
Dear. San Francisco Bay Area, fantastic. And Andrew's here, who I'm sure he's having to leave the country, so he might be having a beer at the airport. He's back. He's a swallow. He's a swallow, which is another line from our erotic novel. But that's another story right now. Portugal on Channel 5 last night. Ben Fogel visiting a guy in Castelo Branco living off-grid. Beautiful views. Absolutely right there.
Nice.
Coach Turner.
Do some research there, mate. Get that going here as well.
Yes, why not? Rafael Di Foria is here. We're going to get him on soon. Don't worry about that.
Good morning, Rafael. Yeah, he's a good lad. I've had a couple of chats with him on Man Cave. He's a really good lad. Yeah, very good speaker as well. Yep.
Boogie Wonderland is being suggested as a tune of the day. Can't go wrong with that. That beer and Boogie Wonderland. I mean, that's a good night out, isn't it? Saw a photo of me that Terence took the other day. Okay, Coach Turner. Here's Gary can join the God Squad. Growing old disgracefully. Let's do it, Gary. Let's get this sorted out. And my God, I'm fat. He says, "Time to grip now. Christmas has taken its toll." A very honest assessment. And yes, thank you, Thunder. I just sent you pictures of the Pantheon. I've got those. They're loaded and ready to go, as well as Victoria's sunset on the way out. And my video from the back in the day when my videos weren't that awesome. You'll see why in a little while. Ian, that was Luke and Sarah. Oh, wow. So Ben Fogel was at Luke and Sarah's. I didn't know that. And Luke makes those incredible chairs. Pete's got one of those. Pete's still here. So Pippa, good morning to you in Botswana this morning. Bon dia and Happy New Year. She says, just joined trying to catch up on the side whilst working. Another line for the erotic novel. I tried standing up this morning and nearly collapsed. Just kidding. Like our stand-up comedian, Sue. So the booster giving trouble. Question for Michael. What was your first job and where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
Wow. That's really deep, man.
I think
my first
it might
job,
be,
well,
it might be because of your white background. I'm not sure.
Maybe, yeah.
Do you want to answer that?
Why not? I'm not going to lose at this stage. My first ever job. My first ever job was working in a pub, believe it or not, as a skivvy in the kitchen.
Yeah,
but I loved it.
A KP.
Yeah. Where do I see myself in 5 years' time? Well, listen, Gary, my friend, as long as I'm happy and healthy and my family and friends are all the same, then I'm good, mate. So yeah, that's my
superb. Hey, you know what? People are sending in pictures of beer now. This is good.
Are they?
And as well as bon dia, Carl and Michael. Oh, a beautiful rainbow. So we've got lots to share with everybody. Well as a roadside nativity as well. Thank you for those pics, Andy. In the Korea area, a lot of focus on Korea this morning. So we will come back to those in just a little while. That's fantastic. After we've had a few more comments here. How many gumpers we have? I'm surprised we haven't had this joke already. How many gumpers does it take to change a light bulb? A riot of gumpers, of course. Any excuse to get together. That'd be hilarious, especially if they've been on the beer too, trying to change the light bulbs. I sat in English and they jabbed in Portuguese. How's that for trusting the healthcare system in Portugal? Well done. That was Gary asking about which booster that James had. Bon dia, Andy. Have a nice flight and don't forget the way back. Absolutely. We'll see you soon. Yeah. Oh, and going back to Sarah Cruz for a moment. I've done 3 tours with Sarah and cannot recommend her highly enough. Morning to you, Jerry, this morning.
Morning,
and
Jerry. Nice.
Yeah, Louise is saying I must get myself booked on one of Sarah's walks. Jerry, expats Portugal cannot. Wonder what that means there. Thunder. That looks so fun. I got so bored with so many YouTube channels. They are very formulaic. They are, aren't they? The old drone shots and the dramatic music. I think it's just a phase we're going through, isn't it? You can have a laugh at my rather amateur video in just a moment, Rebel Mama, where I leave in one of the template slides that you can see very quickly. Yeah, it's a really professional touch. Oh, and I think Thunder's sorted out now. Our best doc suggests for every day with alcohol, take one. Oh, for every day you have with alcohol, take one without. Okay, well, that's fair enough, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, let's talk for a moment about Portuguese drinking culture. I mean, I think people do see drinking as part of everyday life, don't they? Just a little snapper of some sort. Would you agree?
But people know how to drink here, though. So I mean, for example, I've got clients, business contacts, friends here who are Portuguese, as you know, and I've got one famously, he will have a glass of white wine every single day at lunch. But he just has one, and he's very controlled about it. And I think in general, obviously there are exceptions, and I think with younger people, every young person up until their mid-20s, most of us globally, like to have the odd crazy one, but in general, the average Portuguese, I would say, they know how to handle their drink, and I think it's because of the volume and this whole Imperial beer culture as opposed to pints. I think it makes a massive difference.
Yes, that's so true, so true.
Yeah.
And it is, drinking is always a cultural thing, isn't it? Wherever you go in the world. I got concerned when my beer consumption doubled. I considered Alcoholics Anonymous, but they said a jump from bi-monthly to monthly shouldn't concern me. Boom! Well done, James. You ain't lost it, mate, even with that booster. And Thunderduck, I'm having a different kind of dry January. No driving. Not happy about the driving license situation. We're keeping an eye on that.
It was like that with Stella, wasn't it? If you went into an off license in the UK and bought a few cans of Stella, some people would offer to give you the AA leaflet. It's frowned upon, isn't it? It's frowned upon now. It's funny.
Yes. Yeah. What's this, Michael? You look old. Well, that's just charming. From
that's
Edward.
lovely.
Do you know
Thanks
this
for
person?
that, Eduardo. Yeah, I do. I
You
do.
don't-
I look older than the last time you saw me. This is a friend of mine. It's all right. He
Oh,
gets
okay,
away
all
with
right.
that. Look
You
at
get
his
you,
bald. Look at his bald face, though.
yeah. I mean, you get the right. I mean, you shouldn't start like that, Eduardo. Pitching in a
No.
single comment. Michael has got the screen and the mic. He can
Yeah.
take you down to Chinatown right now. But
There's
it's too much of a
there's so many things I could say, and he's using his real name and his photo there, and this is going to be on the internet forever. So.
in Australia.
I'll have a think. And we'll go back
You've
to
got
his face later, and I'll add something.
We've got ages. Like, really brew up a good one for Eduardo. That was so risky doing that, wasn't it? All the odds are in your favour here, Michael. In Australia, they used to hang vehicle wrecks from trees by the side of roads and daub them in red paint. If you drink and drive, you're a bloody idiot. Yes, so that's pretty graphic as well, isn't it? Michael not drinking. He's carrying on.
He's carrying on. He's carrying on. He's carrying on.
Are you kidding?
I'll tell you what. If you ever have to share, you ever have to live with someone in Sevilla, and a guy called Eduardo Sanchez Florido advertised for a roommate, my advice is walk away very quickly. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that.
Okay, make a note, everybody. The Pacific Northwest.
And Eduardo, as a famous Portuguese saying goes, no good wind or marriage ever came from Spain.
Indeed, so, don't start, Eduardo. That was so risky, my friend. Now, who was this? Was this Raphael? Was this you who sent the selection of beer at the Texas-style smokehouse here in Braga? It is. It is. This is Raphael. So let's bring that onto the screen now. Because that is a rather marvelous selection. See, this is exactly what Michael's talking about here. Tucked away in a little corner. I mean, you've got your usual suspects. The supermarket might have a little section. Your smaller market, but then you'll find somewhere like this. Look at that fine selection there.
That's amazing.
And that's in the. What did he say? It's in the local Texas-style smokehouse here in Braga with a few American beers, so you can get some American beers, and they look a bit specialist as well. So thanks for that, Raphael. No problems in Braga getting the craft beers. All of this for you, Andrew, this morning. Okay, let's pull that off the screen and look at a few more comments this morning coming in on Ask Anything About Portugal with Michael Heron, Heronius Maximus, as I like to call him, as I imagine us as centurions. Maybe we'll dress up as centurions and go drinking one day. The Pacific Northwest is a huge culture of craft beer. So many yummy choices. And this is the pride of brewers, isn't it? I mean, once you get started, it must be a great science to be in. Well, it's an art and a science, isn't it? Yeah. Gas station near where I live that parked a new terribly wrecked car by the street every Monday morning. Literally sobering to see. Yeah, that was in the late 70s. They were ahead of their time. Foster's isn't sold in Australia. There you go. There's another one of those things where you think, I'm being a proper Aussie, tucking into my Foster's here. And it's just a complete marketing creation. Portugal has the second highest rate of drink driving deaths in Europe at these prices, and with the GNR drinking and smoking at the petrol pumps. It's not surprising.
Allegedly.
Yes, indeed. That's right. We distance ourselves.
Did you see how I helped you out there, mate?
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, allegedly, and we obviously distance ourselves from that comment, something that may have been seen by that particular correspondent in that particular part of Portugal there. They were probably doing a test of some sort. I like the Preto.
They probably were, but, allegedly.
Yeah. Okay, so 0% beers. Now, I've had a bit of a roller coaster ride with these. And you said you wanted to talk about them, and it's good that we should, because
you tell me personally what's your experience been so far, because I don't think you're a fan, are you?
I'm worried now about what's in them. It's a bit like decaffeinated coffee. In the early days of decaffeinated coffee, I tried it and it would give me a headache. And I've figured out that the chemicals they put in the coffee to drive out the caffeine, the bit that you ideally want and are trying to avoid, is replaced by something that's just injurious to your health. And I suspect something like this might be good. I want to find out. I'll probably watch a YouTube video about what the truth about 0% beer. Now, if it comes to drinking them, I agree with Thunder Duck. The dark one, the stout, the 0% is good. The Sagres 0 is good. And I have to say, there was one webinar we were doing on a Thursday night, and I looked down at the beer, and the branding on it is so light on telling you that it's a 0% beer. I mean, in the supermarket, I could see it. And for a moment, I thought, I feel drunk. And I looked at my beer, and I couldn't see 0% on it. And I thought, oh, no, I've ruined my year-long abstinence from alcohol. and it was at 0%. But the funny thing was, I still felt drunk. So you do get the two things I like about it are you get the cold, thirst quenching sensation, and that is part of drinking beer, isn't it? Is that first bite?
Yeah.
And then what you're hoping for is the little bit afterwards, which is the brain numbing, edge taking phenomenon that is, part of drinking alcohol as well, isn't it? So it's there. You're robbed of the beer buzz, but the thirst quenching is there. But I've got to drink. I'm thinking to myself, well, instead of buying some sort of chemical disaster that's driven the alcohol out, I just buy really good quality fruit juice and drink it like wine. So instead of feeling, it's a bit like diet products, isn't it, or sort of vegan substitutes. Instead of trying to substitute, go for something great. So I buy really good quality juices now, and I love them. But you for 0%, what are you on for the 0?
No, but I tend to agree with you, mate, because I think ultimately you're never going to replicate the taste of alcohol, and that's what gives a beer or a wine or a whiskey. I mean, that's what gives it. That's why people drink it, right? So you're never going to replicate it. And I'm the same. I'm the same as you. When I'm not drinking, Carl, is I have experimented with non-alcoholic beer, and there are some good brands which I'll talk about. For example, Thunder Ducks mentioned there the Preto, which is the stout, and for example, you've got the Superbox Stout 0.0, which is very, very good. And I would say my advice would be to avoid lagers when you're looking for non-alcoholic beer, because you're not going to find that flavour. I mean, there are one or two which are quite good. They're not Portuguese though, so my favourite one is probably Heineken 0.0. And there's an Estrela Damm, which is a blue label 0.0. That's very good as well. But I'm the same as you. So I like tonic water with a slice of orange or a slice of lemon or some kind of non-alcoholic cocktail is what I prefer.
Yeah, and go for luxury rather than feeling like you're missing out. That is what I would suggest. And you say a blue label. That's a good call, because that seems to be becoming the international iconography of non-alcoholic beers, doesn't it? The blue, the blue and the 0. I don't know if that's an official thing. I'm nearly always left.
Sagres has a blue label as well. So you're right. It could be.
Okay, I'm nearly always left wine when I turn up at house. It's usually a bottle of red and white, but I don't drink. I hate always having to refuse a gift. Okay, well, we can recycle that for you. I'm sure a good home can be found. Good manners, yes. Take the gift. One of the few lagers I drink is Stella, because it doesn't seem to give me a hangover or headaches, whereas Carling is so full of rubbish, it leaves me feeling like dogged it. I've never. Well, I'm glad to hear that. That's not really an achievement to be proud of, but well said. Now you are talking. Oh, has he been on the beer over there in Spain? Has he had a snifter this morning? He's coming back at you with a few jabs here. Okay.
I think he's on the beers already.
Yes, I think so. And the wine here is really good. Can't you use it to cook with? Oh, that's to Louise there. Eric J has 360 breweries in North Carolina alone. So there you go. That's why some of the American drinkers are a little bit worried about coming over to Portugal. Can't compete with that, I don't think.
No.
That said, if you make the transition to wine, you will have more than a wine a day to try for a whole year, without a doubt. I mean, and you see that. That's the interesting thing about wine in Portuguese supermarkets. I saw a Côte de Rhône, and I bought it because I thought we haven't tasted, or the people in the house haven't tasted French wine for years. Let's see.
I know. It's the same. It's the same with these new world wines, like Chilean Merlot and South African Chamonix and all these kind of wines that you just don't get in Portugal that we used to drink in the UK, and you do sometimes miss the unique flavors that they have. So it's true. It's true.
But it's all Portuguese, very patriotic in the wine section. And OLP Winterhook with spruce tips. Oh, is that a beer with spruce tips in the beer there? That sounds great. Clover Stack, I think I know who this might be. Hello from Mavila, the epicenter of cervejarias in Lisboa. And that's what you were talking about, right? Is that you, Senor Clover? And Musa is proudly part of Maravilha, which overlaps with Beato, really, doesn't it? Cruz Campo, best ever. Is he pushing the Spanish wines here?
That's a civilian beer. It is very good, but like I said before, no good wind or marriage has ever come from Spain. The same with beer. No, it is. I'm joking. It is a decent beer. It is a decent beer, especially the the Gran Reserva version of that is very good.
Right,
Yeah.
very welcome with your Spanish influence on this program about Portuguese beers. Interesting. Porter ales, yeah. People loving the porter. I think it's an acquired taste as you get older as well, isn't it? Bridgeport porter is yummy. Check your WhatsApp. I think that was for the fridge, wasn't it? The pic that you sent us. And so Team Sagres as well. I prefer Sagres to Superbock. I'm told that Superbock is the intellectuals beer, and the Sagres is more the working man's beer. So identifying as a working man there, as hard as that might be to believe. IPA does officially give you gynecomastia. Are you and Michael fans? I do like IPAs. I mean, there is a sort of thrushy aspect, isn't there, to yeasty beers? No question about it. And maybe that's a connection with the gynecomastia. Why? What's the chemistry that's going on there? Do you like a Peroni? Peroni's not a bad beer, is it? But
Peroni's a good, decent, yeah. Peroni's a very decent.
You find that in Portugal as well, don't you? Because it's part of the whole corporate beer juggernaut, really, isn't it? Peroni now, I think. Yeah. Sagres is smoother. Super Bowl is more hoppy. Thank you. Oh, Super Bock probably rather than Super Bowl. So yeah, that is a good assessment. There's our beer survey if you want to take part in that on Facebook in the Good Morning Portugal Wine Club. And James saying, I find Sagres a teensy bit sweeter than Superbock, which suits my taste. I find it crisper and clearer, and hence that's the hoppy thing, isn't it? Not a big hops guy. Yeah, if you want hops, go straight into it and go proper hop.
Do you know what I'd be interested to do, Carl, is to take, I don't know, 100 Portuguese that are proper beer drinkers and do a blind taste to give them a glass of Sagres and a glass of Superbock and see if they can actually tell the difference, because I don't reckon it's that. It could be the same. It's like Pepsi and Coca-Cola, isn't it? For me, anyway, it's so similar. They're so similar.
I can do a blind taste on those two, on the sodas for sure. Reckon? And I think so. On
sodas, but Superbock and Sagres, can you really notice that much of a difference? I mean, I could be the naive one here, but I'm not sure if I could.
I'd certainly like to see that experiment. Superbock, and it's probably been done on Portuguese telly, isn't it? Superbock trends towards more female drinkers. So the intellectuals and the female drinkers, very interesting. And a good shout there, Randy and Andy, or Randy Andy. I'm bored of Brewdog already. Way too overhyped. Yeah, and it's a serious marketing machine, the whole Brewdog thing. But I think they've made an incredible contribution to the whole understanding of a bit like when McDonald's introduced salad. Estrella Stout from Owen there. Good to cook with as well, Owen. In the UK, Dark Star Brewery in Sussex makes some really good bottled ales. So maybe a little bit of importation action could work there. Anyone putting together sample packs of Portuguese craft beers? I think Pausa will do that. And I think Musa, I don't know about whether they ship it or not, but you can get a lovely, when you go into the Musa brewery, they present you with, I think, 6 beers in small glasses, and you can do that as a tasting there before you get cracking for the evening. Friends, don't let friends drink Coors Light. So I think that was a bit like the Miller reference you made earlier on. Lindsay, okay, so Lindsay's Amber is really good. From Cloverstack, I live on the same street as their bar warehouse, and they have kombucha on tap too. Now that is a great brewery. I would go for that. I love a kombucha. Kate's a kombucha brewer who's in the house this morning as well. Coruja is 6%. Thank you for that. A litre of beer in Portugal reminds me of 40. Oh, give me a 40 of Old English wrapped in lovingly in a paper bag. Uncle Krusty is saying. So that's the image we're familiar with of people drinking beer out of paper bags, chasing the birds away that sit next to them on the bench outside. De Wildeman has over 250 types of beer and 8 on tap. Great if you're in Holland. Well, thank you for that Portuguese tip this morning, Pete. Pete, your favourite Portuguese bar, please, or Budweiser. What the hell is that? This is the Americans turning on their own corporate brews. Chocolate porter. That's a nice idea, isn't it?
I've had that before.
Yeah.
I've had that before.
Budweiser is like making love in a canoe. I mean, you kind of want to try that just to understand what, there's an upside to that experiment, I would say.
Definitely an upside.
Yeah, bon dia, Carl, and everyone from Michelle in Australia, who will probably confirm as well. She'd never seen Foster's over there. Tried a chocolate beer once in Italy, like drinking cocoa powder. One of the worst beers. That could go. Yeah, that's a very Marmite experience.
There's a margin for error there, isn't there, with that kind of beer for sure.
Is there a Marmite craft beer? I would like to know. Because isn't Marmite made with leftovers from the brewing industry? Maybe there is. Do you have any really hoppy beer in Portugal like we have Mirror Pond? I'll let others, more expert people answer.
Loads, but yeah, let people in the comments give their favourites maybe.
It's Wednesday. I have to leave early. Bon dia, Gumpers. Have a great day. Well, thank you for being here so long. We're nearly on the hour here, where we will conclude with all the videos and pictures that I've promised you. But some great stuff. Budvar is far better from Czech Republic, of course it is. Agreed. I always order the small beer so it stays cold. Never order the American size. It's attempting to do so, but there's no need. Service can be very good here. You can just keep them coming, and they can be nice and cold and in a small glass. Yeah. Best beer in Australia was from a Tasmanian brewery called Cascade. Very good. Yay for the lightweights. We're really cheap dates. 1 down, I'm a party. 2 is uninhibited comedian. And 3 bedtime. The 1 time I got that far. Well, that sounds like a fun night out for the Gumpers. That is going to be a lot of fun when we see James doing that. Went to Brewdog once and tried a 16% beer, which tasted like barley. I can't manage those.
That's like a martini, isn't it? That's like a martini.
Yeah. A beer trip to Powers great idea, Gary. And Special Brew. Do you remember that from the UK? Oof. The syrupy and Tennant's Extra. What is going on in those? To me, they
Special
taste
Brew. Wow, now that was the classic tramp, can of beer, wasn't it? That was horrendous.
Tramp beer. Coors now sells an organic lager. The mountains turn green when it's cold. Nice, Uncle Krusty. Work demands. We're losing them because they've got to go to work. How dare you, everybody, put work before us? Bon dia. The place in Korea is the Barada Beer Corner Brewhouse, Portugal, that sells draft local ales in the Prado shops opposite the park entrance. Fantastic. Thank you very much for that, Andy. Gary's here as well at Gary Orgles. Wow, where did the last 2 weeks go? Must be the beer. Absolutely right. And I'm sure a lot of people drank more beer than they would ordinarily do in the last couple of weeks. I discovered I have a drink problem. I've only got one mouth. Hey! Thank you very much for that. Stephen's here as well. They call that binge drinking these days. What, a normal sort of night out, as they used to call it. I thought you were going to reference Airplane, where you kept tipping in your face. Oh, yes, that drinking problem joke. Troglodytes are here. And Michael Florentino. Look, Fiorentino. It's really hard to pronounce cervejaria, which you probably heard me trying to do, Michael. It's the same way as the native speakers. It sounds like cervejaria. This place is called Mimo Steakhouse. So shout out to Braga there and that fantastic selection of beers there. Please dress up as centurions next time. You up for that, Michael? Just get a red curtain, don't we?
Why not? Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, borrow some sword off the kids. Wow, we'll take it. It's Anna Billions, everyone. What's happening there? I wonder. But a simple wow for us. And the track is by Earth, Wind and Fire this morning. One of the things I noticed in the UK is that I like my real ale cool to room temperature. But here they have them.
Agreed.
That's not understood necessarily here yet, is it? But that's, again, a cultural thing. First time, says Rebel Mama, I bought beer here for my husband. I bought Superbock, Preto, Saint Alcohol. I don't know what saying was. He didn't speak to me for 2 days. Boogie Wonderland, unlike September. It's not a happy song.
That was probably justified as well.
Yeah, I hope that's everything's okay now. It's not a happy song at all, Boogie Wonderland. It's about someone on the brink of self-destruction who goes to these clubs to try and find more. Wow. And to the Rebel Mama, how is the weather in the north? I can't wait to get back up that way. The weather check, please, from the north. Have you tried martini conservation? There's a Portuguese thing. And is it a thing down in the lettuce-eating country? It's a thing in Central. Your beer, and you drop a martini into it. Drop a shot of martini in there. What's it called, Andy? What do they call it? In case anybody wants to order that. Hitting the hay, wishing all the Gumpers a killer day from Kauai. Thanks so much, Uncle Krusty, for joining us at this ungodly hour over there for you. Sorry, I wanted to say good morning, everybody. Listen, you don't have to apologize, Raouf. Great to have you here. And Estrella's black beer is superb as well. So I think we've done Andrew proud this morning with our recommendations. Bon dia, Carl. And he needn't worry. Bon dia, Michael and Carl from William. May have missed this, but what, if any, recommendations? What, if any, recommendations do you have for a nice Portuguese red? Great question for you. Just a slight adjunct, tangent off the beer for a moment. What's your best?
Yeah.
What would you suggest as a best starter red here in Portugal, Michael?
Do you know what? What I would say, William, is have a proper look at all the wine regions when you go to your supermarket or wine shop, because you've got 12, 13 different wine regions. I mean, I would say the two most popular ones are, or the two most popular regions in Portugal for red wine are Alentejo and Douro. Douro tends to be sort of heavier, more full-bodied, and Alentejo tends to be a bit lighter, but there are huge varieties with that. So I would say my advice would be, if you find a decent wine merchant anywhere in Portugal and you just walk in there and tell them what you're cooking for dinner that night, and they will tell you what wine to buy.
Oh, what an excellent suggestion! And you make a friend for life, I suspect. And you know what?
And they love showing their knowledge. Also, if you're in Lisbon and you go to the Corte Inglés, they have a very good chap or chapette who are usually there amongst the wines, who will ask if you want any help, because there's such a huge selection there. And there are very affordable wines there as well, even in the gourmet section. So it's worth occasionally going there just to be a bit better educated on what to drink with the food. Because I always, would say to people, well, if you're going to have fish, have white wine, but the Portuguese will have their bacalhau with red wine quite often. Again, it's not a fresh fish, is it? It's salted. So it's worth finding out what the tradition is here with with how they pair their wines, because it may not be the same as you're used to back home.
Great suggestion, Michael. Is to make the acquaintance of a wine merchant, and it will be a lovely relationship. It will be a lovely relationship, and you'll go back. And you know what, as well, in the wine merchants I've been to, they'll have a cheeky little craft beer section often as well. They'll lay their hands on it for you as well. They'll find it once they know your taste. They'll be able to respond to you like no supermarket will. And the price. The other thing you might be forgiven for thinking is, like, if I go to a wine merchant, all the prices will be double or something like that, like it is in the UK. That's not true, is it?
They'll have more of a range. They'll have more of a range. They'll have way more of a range. Yeah.
Okay, superb, really good, William. Appreciating that. Depth charge is the name. When you drop a martini into a beer, that's called the depth charge. We need that though, don't we, in Portuguese, I think. Really good suggestion from Gary. Replay the old wine club episodes. We tried a lot of wine, many. I think we've got into well over 50 wines that we tried.
Nice.
So try that, and is it simply a martini con cerveja? So you will get that, and you will look like a local if you order that, but probably only in central and north, I suspect. Maybe not in Lisbon.
Okay,
Michael, thank you so much. We'll finish with some fantastic photos of the Pantheon. I'll do those in just a moment, but I'll say thank you and goodbye to you, because I know you probably got to go to work on that 5-year plan that you detailed earlier on. And look forward to seeing you on the first Wednesday of next month, and wish you a fantastic 2022, my friend.
Thank you very much. Same to you and same to everyone else. Have a great year and look forward to seeing you all next month.
And thank you for that. We will put that list of Portuguese breweries in the forum. Cheers, mate. Bye for now.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye. Ciao, everyone.
Ciao. There he goes. And he's probably going to get straight on the phone to his mate in Spain there, I suspect now, after that little bit of sledging and banter in the comments there. Our favourite bar, says Pete, where we're off to with Farmer for Fun's dad today. Oh, wow. Is the Central Bar in Orca. Great cocktails, morning pickups. What are they? Amazing burgers and the friendliest service and freebies. That does sound like a great date this morning. Fantastic. And Nubianet will catch up. But great to see you here this morning, Nubianet. Let's drink some beers on Friday at the Man Cave, chap. So let's have a quick look now at the fabulous pictures. I think he's gone already, but we spoke of the Pantheon, didn't we, at Eusebio's, the prof's recommendation, and he mentioned the Pantheon. And here are some pickies. Is this one of my beer pictures? No, this is going to Belfast this morning. If you feel chilly here in Portugal, just take a look at this and you'll feel a whole lot better. There's the windscreen from which Digor has wiped snow, I think, in the last couple of days, in the last 24 hours. But check out these beautiful pictures of the Pantheon. Let me take off that banner for just a moment. And look at that. The Pantheon in Lisbon as photographed by Thunderduck. That's beautiful. And it looks like you had the place to yourself there, not overrun by tourists in any way. Incredible tombs here of the folks we mentioned who are in remembrance there for eternity, certainly in the public consciousness. Beautiful, what a beautiful building! Thank you so much for these, Thunder. I think has gone out now for the day, but look, beautiful pictures. Thank you very much indeed. And to Andy, who sent us this rainbow. There's Bairrada country, and talking of wine, there is a vineyard in the Bairrada region. Robust reds from Bairrada. That's where you'll find Luís Pato. And look at that, a beautiful full rainbow. Pot of gold, pot of craft beer, pot of red wine, or some fizzy espumante at each end of that rainbow in the Bairrada there. And that fridge again of Raphael's there. And a roadside nativity in central Portugal as well. Look at that. Coria Way, the Bairrada region again. Thank you very much for that. And I'll play you my video of the beer festival in Korea now, and then we'll go out at the beautiful sunset. Thanks to Victoria for that. So here's a vid. Might sneak back in. I'll just check who's been sending in what pictures, but it's not even 10 o'clock yet, so we're doing pretty well. Here we go. Here's the vid from the Korea Beer Festival. Hey, Carl Munson here, in a rather harsh light, here at Korea's Oktoberfest. Trying to find a bit of lighting, so I'm not talking to you in complete darkness, but I don't want to freak you out looking like a ghost either. But I just wanted to let you know that Korea's Oktoberfest is well underway, and this is a live beer tasting. Check that out. Now the deal here is that it's $2.50 for your glass, and we're raising money here for the Bomberos. $2.50 for the glass, and I just got the beer in there for €2. And the good news is this party goes on till 4 o'clock tomorrow morning, and then there's another session tomorrow, which I believe is something like from 2 o'clock until 8 o'clock in the evening. So there's probably still time to get here tonight and join the Korea Oktoberfest. Amazing atmosphere. We're here really early, characteristically English and uncool, and we've arrived here really early in the evening. There is a children's playground. Hello. There's a children's playground. Look at this behind me. I'll just give you a quick view. Loads of places to get food, loads of different types of beer, traditional Sagres and some craft beers as well, and banging tunes, and also a band later on, at least one band, another band tomorrow. So it's a cracking event. Korea's Oktoberfest, thoroughly recommend it. You've still got time to get here. You can come on a train so you don't have to drink and drive. Obviously that's if you're anywhere near Portugal. And we're on the train line between Coimbra and Porto here at Korea. Fantastic. And the where the festival is right next to the railway station. Thoroughly convenient. So Munson just doing a live beer tasting for you now. This one. That is an amber Weiss, I'm told. An amber Weiss because it is a Weiss beer flavoured with Porto wine. It's only 7% as well. Should I have started with a 7%? €2 and my souvenir tankard for $2.50. It can't be bad. And another thing, you know, Englishmen arriving at a beer festival, they're giving me glass. I mean, not that I'm going to cause trouble, of course, but I'm just so not used to having glass at a public event anymore. But they do that. It's very civilised here in Portugal. There's a train. That's how close we are to the railway line. And so, live beer tasting. Let me tell you what this beer's like. That's beautiful. I thought that was going to be a lot heavier. Really refreshing, nice and cool. We're up and running here at Oktoberfest Korea. Thoroughly recommend it. If I don't see you this year, see you next year. Take care, bye for now.